Und zurück bei Fast Forward hier aus London und hier sitzt da immer noch Rhys hier von den Super Furry Animals neben mir. There are several songs on the album which I realized they start at a certain point and then they end somewhere completely different where you'd never have imagined it could go there. Is that something that sort of happens while you're recording? You're sort of testing a song out, or is that already written out on paper when you go in the studio?
Sometimes it's written like that, and occasionally it evolves whilst we're in the studio. Like No Sympathy, it was always going to be totally different at the end. Whereas something like Receptacle for the Respectable, I had the song in 2 parts, but it was a bit conventional and a bit boring.
Yeah.
And Dav came up with a 3rd piece for it, and then Bumf started jamming, going, oh, it's just too soft, and he's going, you know. So it starts off in Liverpool in the 60s, and then it goes transatlantic into the early 1970s, so maybe a Bowie-produced Lou Reed album or something like that, and then it goes to West Coast, Bacharach, Dennis Wilson, psychedelia, and then it flies up to Norway to the death metal scene there, and it's a journey. And I like stories. When I read a story, I watch a film, I like a twist, you know.
Yeah.
And I like the ending to be surprising.
Yeah. A sick twist you need.
Yeah, yeah. We like sickness. Yeah.
Yes. And I always sort of realised that you, especially in interviews, the Super Furry Animals were political band, but I think this time on the album especially you sort of got more explicit political lyrics. Would you agree to that?
I don't know, we sing from a personal perspective, you know, and we sing about our daily life and our relationships, and that might be affected by politics sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, we formed the band because of a love of music. But I suppose we've grown up in a politically volatile area, and so it's inevitable that it gets into the lyrics, I suppose.
Yeah. And sort of the lyrics that I sort of find when I listen to the album is sort of, on the one hand it's about a society, and on the other hand it's about relationships between 2 people, let's say, and sort of especially the mistakes that happen in those things. And would you say so that the mistakes society makes are the same mistakes that 2 people, sort of 2 individuals do in a relationship?
Possibly, yeah. I don't know, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, you know.
Yeah.
But it's you learn from it as well.
Yeah.
And when we make music, maybe we're making mistakes on behalf of future bands, you know. You know, we're making the over the top DVD and surround sound so that other bands can check it out and go, oh, that really didn't work, you know.
Yeah. That was a mistake. Yeah.
Or maybe it's a great idea, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we don't care.
Yeah, okay. And can you somehow remember how this idea for the new single, Juxtaposed With You, came up?
I don't know, I was walking through a park and I got these melodies, probably because I'd been listening to a lot of Marcus Valle and Philadelphia Soul records, and I think I wrote the lyrics when I was in New York, where the divides between rich and poor are explicit, as they are here, if you have a view.
Take my money. The boats of the rich.
And
disgusting. Yeah.
So it's very funny. I'm talking about a song which is primarily about the gulf between rich and poor, and the gulf between people, as you say, and society. And it sounds like a love song, maybe about a relationship, but in fact it's just about society itself. And sung from an incredibly utopian perspective, when I was in a very lived up mood, and a very idealistic mood. which I'm not always in. But we wanted to make a sort of sick pop record, something that's so smooth. It's you know, grotesque almost, you know.
Yeah.
As like a yacht.
Yes, exactly, like the harbour here. Okay, and we'll just have a little break again. We'll be back in a second. Goodbye. Meine Damen und Herren, Sie sind immer noch Fast Forward mit Gruff Rhys hier von den Super Furry Animals in London. And I would like to talk again about the honesty of the lyrics, which I found is a great difference to the other albums, is that I think the lyrics are much more honest. Do you agree to that? Sort of, was that a difficult step somehow to become more honest, or?
I don't know, I haven't noticed, but maybe it's easier for an outsider to spot differences,
yeah.
You know. I didn't take any particularly different approach, I don't think.
You don't think?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, but what I mean is sort of the other records were a bit, sort of the lyrics are very comical somehow.
Okay.
And this time they are getting seriouser and of course more serious, but also funny.
Yeah, maybe they're more personal, and probably a lot of the lyrics are darker. I think we've always had a light on the dark side, but as you say, yeah, maybe it is. They are getting more serious, you know. And there's always been some melancholy in the music, but it's but never as much darkness. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and there is this beautiful song called No Sympathy, which is sort of a wonderful hate song, really. Why do you think are people afraid of hating? Because I read interviews with you, and there are lots of people asking, sort of the people doing the interviews, and they sort of go, how can you say you have to die and blah, 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 stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it completely contradicts a song like Juxtaposed With You, you know, which is very idealistic. And I wrote it specifically for a film called Plop, by a film group called Fuck Me 99, who was sort of taking the piss out of Dogma.
Yeah.
And they had a film about 3 men living a week in their life as if it was the last week in their life.
Yeah.
And it follows them around London, and they behave disgustingly, you know, and very selfishly. And you don't feel anything for any of these characters, you know. Mm-hmm. And I wrote it specifically for them. But having said that, taken out of context, it sounds quite scary and quite sinister.
Spooky.
And spooky.
Yeah.
And I quite like that as well. In a way, I'm going into character, you know. It's not usually how I feel towards people, but. Yeah. And maybe I've been listening to too much Bob Dylan records. It's been because he seems a very bitter, hateful man. You know?
Yeah, moaning around all the time.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. But do you think it's important to have enemies of some sort?
Well, I'm more like Juxtaposed. Really, I believe in diplomacy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's war all the time, you know.
Yeah.
But then, when it's not at the end of the world, I'm singing about maybe it's better if the human race gets wiped out and the world can become a better place.
Yeah.
This is a very nice thought.